Adam 22 is no stranger to controversy, but with No Jumper host Loose Cannon and Brick Baby now facing life sentences, the spotlight is back on it. As the bodies fall, Adam has had a lot to say, almost as if he saw this coming. His reaction, cold, calculated, and unapologetic. But the internet has been raising some shady accusations against him, whether it's exploiting street drama for clicks or allegedly playing a role in the downfall of some of his own people. Did Adam 22 really just report the news, or did he help set the stage for them facing life sentences? Adam, 22 distances No Jumper from RICO charges. The walls are closing in on No Jumper, or so the internet thought. A bombshell RICO indictment has rocked the hip-hop world, placing music executive Big U at the center of a criminal empire allegedly responsible for murder, kidnapping, fraud, extortion, and theft. As details of the case leaked, one name kept popping up in court documents: No Jumper. Fans flooded social media, speculating that the podcast's controversial host, Adam 22, might be tangled in the legal web. But Adam wasn't about to let the rumors fly without a fight. What made things even worse was the fact that multiple former No Jumper hosts are now facing life behind bars. The irony was impossible to ignore. Adam 22 had built his brand off gritty street narratives, and now, one by one, his former collaborators were falling like dominoes. Fans began asking, was No Jumper just a podcast, or had it unknowingly become a breeding ground for criminals? The questions turned into accusations, and suddenly, Adam 22 found himself defending not just his brand, but his entire legacy. Jumping on Instagram, Adam 22 fired back at the accusations, making it crystal clear that No Jumper had nothing to do with the case. He acknowledged working with Brick Baby and Loose Cannon, two individuals named in the indictment, over the last 2 years, but he refused to let anyone pin their alleged crimes on his brand.
I see a lot of people saying that 22 is the reason why Brick got caught up. Out of here. 22, you know what I do.
Adam pointed out that the alleged crimes took place long before Brick Baby became a No Jumper affiliate.
I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff that he's done in the last 2 years since he's been with us, right?
While he didn't deny that Brick Baby could be wrapped up in something serious, he made it clear that No Jumper was not part of it.
I do employ people from the streets, and I guess, people from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments, whatever this is. And
despite the heavy allegations, Adam 22 remained loyal to his former co-hosts.
I got love for Loose too. We're going to be documenting this whole thing, helping them along the way.
Yet, he doubled down on his main point. No Jumper was not the cause of their downfall.
Anybody acting like this is because of No Jumper? No, No Jumper was the antidote.
With Brick Baby and Loose Cannon now in federal custody, and former No Jumper hosts serving life sentences, the internet continues to dissect the indictment. But Adam 22 was firm in his stance. His platform may have been associated with figures in the case, but it was not responsible for their fate. Adam continued addressing the arrest on his podcast, expressing frustration and disbelief.
It's not my fault. I just want to say that I was just as astounded as many of you to see this news come down. It feels like the cops want to be part of the narrative of the podcast last night. They saw how good it was doing, and they were like, we got to swoop in here. So I just want to say, free Brick Baby, free Loose.
Adam revealed that he had spent the last 2 years building up Brick Baby's reputation through the No Jumper platform. We spent the last 2 years making people love him, Adam lamented. The podcast was reaching a climax. We had like 4 or 5 interviews in a row that had 100K plus views. He admitted that there had been rumors circulating for years, particularly from Wack 100, who had suggested that Brick Baby's past could come back to haunt him.
Brick got his house raided about 2 years ago. They allegedly found an AK. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's what Wack was always saying. And when that charge never got filed, Wack's argument was, oh, you must be a snitch because it never got filed.
However, Adam also hinted that they kind of expected a RICO charge, which was a bit shocking.
But then the other theory that we all heard in the background was like, oh, well, what if it's going to get wrapped up into a federal indictment? Because then it would make sense that the cops would pass on it for a couple years.
Meanwhile, in another subsequent episode of No Jumper, Adam faced further questions from DJ Academics, DJ Vlad, Trap Lore, and Wack 100. Academics pressed Adam on whether he would change the way he conducts interviews now that No Jumper's name had appeared in a federal indictment. If I saw my name in an indictment, I would be like, all right, certain conversations are off limits, Academics stated. Adam pushed back, claiming that he never encouraged Brick Baby or Loose Cannon to incriminate themselves on camera.
Almost every time I've been on camera with Brick is live. And number two, I never instructed him to
No, we're not
talk
blaming
about
you for
certain
it.
situations. Like him and Luce, people like that, they get on camera and they start kind of like one-upping each other, and there's stuff they want to say and they don't really have the
Yeah, but Adam,
self-control to
you're
not
invading
say
the
it.
conversation.
Academics remain skeptical, suggesting that as a platform owner, Adam should be more cautious. If I see my name in an indictment and it says that conversations facilitated on my platform are corroborating these crimes, I'm going to steer future conversations away from that, academics argued. The conversation took a tense turn when academics suggested that Luce Cannon believed Adam had snitched on him.
I talked to him last night.
He thinks you lined him up. I ain't gonna say too much. He think Adam lined
I
him up.
talked to him last night.
I talked to him last night too.
Adam quickly dismissed the claim, stating that Luce's first concern was about how his episode had performed.
First question he asked me, how'd last night's episode do?
Could I ask?
He's still counting views
Yeah.
from behind the wall.
Adam said, shaking his head. Meanwhile, over on Reddit, fans of No Jumper found humor in the chaos, launching a thread titled Dear Feds, where they jokingly suggest swapping Adam for Brick Baby in a satirical plea. One top voted comment reads, "We will trade Adam, Jalik, and everybody from Long Beach for Brick Baby. Fair trade." Another user quips, "Give back Brick Baby, take Dijon Paul, that's the best trade." The thread quickly turns into a full-on roast session, with fans mocking Adam's past controversies while expressing support for Brick Baby, who they argue deserves freedom more than the No Jumper host. The fallout from the No Jumper Rico controversy is far from over. While Adam22 continues to defend his platform, questions linger about the role of hip-hop media in street culture. Is No Jumper simply a media outlet that happens to feature guests with criminal ties, or has it inadvertently contributed to the downfall of some of its hosts? For now, Adam remains defiant, standing by his claim that No Jumper is not responsible for anyone's legal troubles, while his former co-hosts face serious charges. The charges facing Luce, Brick, and Big U. It was a cold March 17th morning in Los Angeles when the walls finally closed in on Big U and his inner circle. The United States District Court for the Central District of California dropped a legal bomb. 107 pages of allegations, wiretap transcripts, and years of evidence piecing together a criminal enterprise that operated in the shadows of LA's underworld. This isn't just any indictment. It is a takedown of what federal prosecutors call the Big U enterprise, a violent, organized network that thrived on power, intimidation, and illegal profits. At the center of it all stands three men: Eugene Big U Henley, the alleged mastermind behind the operation; Tremaine Luce Cannon Williams, a feared enforcer accused of carrying out violent robberies; and Zahir Brick Baby Mitchell, a key player whose indictment remains sealed, leaving everyone guessing what secrets lay buried. As federal agents prepared for a series of high-profile arrests, one thing was certain: this wasn't just about taking down a gang. This was about dismantling a criminal empire. For decades, Eugene Henley Jr., better known as Big U, was a towering figure in Los Angeles. At 55, his reputation stretched far beyond the streets. Once a feared enforcer for the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, he had morphed into a businessman, a so-called community leader, and a behind-the-scenes power broker. But the feds saw him differently. According to the RICO, racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, conspiracy charges filed against him. Big U isn't just a former gangster. He is the boss of a mafia-like enterprise, a group that allegedly engaged in murder, robbery, extortion, prostitution, fraud, and tax evasion, all for power and profit. Federal agents paint a chilling picture of a man who still rules through fear, using his past as a street legend to intimidate, manipulate, and control those around him. The wiretaps alone are damning. In one call, Henley allegedly bragged about sending an enforcer to Minnesota to collect hundreds of thousands from an NBA All-Star. In another, he was recorded threatening a business owner, warning that he would kill him over a payment dispute. Then there are the chilling accounts of him and his crew chasing down a rival, guns drawn, as the man begged for his life. But Henley's empire wasn't just built on violence. The feds claimed he had turned his nonprofit, Developing Options, into a money laundering front, scamming donors and government programs meant to help at-risk youth. Instead of using funds for the community, Henley allegedly redirected the money into his own pockets, at one point even instructing his wife to use the nonprofit's credit card to buy air conditioning units for their home before canceling the order and pocketing the refund. And then came the obstruction of justice allegations. Federal agents have recordings of Big U allegedly coaching a witness, JS, to take the fall for a former NFL player's crimes. In a desperate attempt to keep his enterprise safe, Henley allegedly arranged a meeting with the victim's father, promising a solution that would protect the interests of the organization. The feds were listening the whole time. By the time they filed their case, they wanted everything: his home on 62nd Street, his second residence on Arlington Avenue, his Mercedes, and his nonprofit's offices. The evidence is overwhelming, and now the once untouchable Big U is facing decades behind bars. If Big U is the brains, Tremaine Luce Cannon Williams is the muscle. At 38, he isn't just another soldier in the Big U enterprise. He is a violent enforcer, a man accused of carrying out armed robberies to keep the organization's cash flow running strong. His charge? Interference with commerce by robbery, Hobbs Act violation, a federal crime that ties violent thefts to interstate commerce, making it a perfect weapon for prosecutors. One case in particular stands out. According to the indictment, Loose Cannon and his crew stormed into a marijuana dispensary at gunpoint, forcing employees to the ground before emptying the cash registers and fleeing with thousands. But the feds say that wasn't enough for him. Wiretaps captured him bragging about other heists, discussing future targets, and openly talking about the thrill of robbing people. Surveillance footage links him to the scene. Cell phone records places him nearby. And witnesses, they are ready to talk. What makes Loose different from the others is his lack of restraint. The indictment didn't just accuse him of being an enforcer. It paints a picture of a man who loved the chaos. He wasn't just committing crimes because he had to. He was doing it because he wanted to. Now, with the full weight of federal prosecutors coming down on him, his days of running wild are numbered. Unlike his co-defendants, Zahir Brick Baby Mitchell's case remains sealed. His name appears in the wiretap orders alongside Henley and Williams, meaning the feds have been listening to his conversations, but his specific charges are kept under wraps. The only clue? A cryptic footnote on page 11 of the criminal complaint, mentioning that Mitchell is indicted under a separate case, case number 225, CR 00132, away from the public eye. So what do the feds have on him? Speculations have run wild. Some believe he was involved in the extortion and money laundering schemes that ran through Developing Options. Others believe he played a role in the prostitution and human trafficking operations that the feds hinted at in the RICO charges. And then there are whispers that his sealed indictment contained even bigger allegations, ones that could shake the case to its core. Until that document was unsealed, Brick Baby remained a mystery, a shadow figure in a case where every other player's role was laid out in brutal detail. For years, the Big U enterprise had operated in the background of Los Angeles' criminal underworld, not just as a gang, but as a full-fledged criminal business, stretching from drug trafficking and extortion to financial fraud and prostitution. The feds had spent years gathering evidence, wiretaps, surveillance, bank records, witness testimony, and now, on March 17, 2025, it all came crashing down. Arrest warrants were issued for Henley, Williams, and others, including Sylvester V. Robinson, Mark Bearclaw Martin, Armani Aflage, Frederick Blanton Jr., and Tiffany Hines. Search warrants were executed at their homes, businesses, and even Developing Options office on Crenshaw Boulevard, looking for the financial records, weapons, and communication logs that would put the final nail in the coffin. The charges are devastating. Big U faced RICO, fraud, tax evasion, extortion, and obstruction of justice, charges that could keep him locked up for the rest of his life. Loose Cannon is looking at a long federal sentence for armed robbery and other violent crimes. Brick Baby, his fate remains sealed, but everyone knows it isn't good. As news of the indictment spreads, one question looms over LA's streets. Is this the end of Big U's empire, or is there more to come? With the weight of the federal government against them, the answer seems clear. The Big U enterprise is crumbling, and its kingpin isn't walking away this time. Meanwhile, before turning himself in, Big U explained that the charges are all lies before blaming Wack 100 for betraying him and knowing more than he lets on about the RICO charges. Did Wack 100 betray Big U, Loose, and Brick? Big U doesn't just come out and point fingers. He's been in the game too long for that. But as the walls closed in and the feds tightened their grip, he decided to throw one last curveball before turning himself in. In a bombshell revelation, he exposed who he believed had been pulling the strings from the shadows, feeding the feds intel that led to his indictment. And at the center of it all, Wack 100. In a raw and emotional video before turning himself in, Big U made explosive claims, accusing Wack 100 of working with the feds to dismantle his operation, sabotage his finances, and ultimately betray him. But Big U wasn't the only one thrown into the fire. His allegations also touched on Loose Cannon and Brick, further fueling speculation that Wack had a hand in their legal troubles as well.
Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He working with the FBI. The FBI went to the city 3 days in a row and told the city they didn't want nobody to give me no more money. They went to all the different celebrities and told all the different celebrities, don't give me no money, don't help me, don't do nothing for me.
According to Big U, Wack has been influencing city officials and celebrities, warning them not to associate with him or support his community efforts. But that wasn't the only bombshell. Big U also revealed that when the feds raided his properties, they were asking about Wack 100. That raises a serious question. If Wack was really the informant, why would the feds be asking about him? Or was it just a tactic to throw Big U off? Big U didn't just put Wack on blast. He also accused Loose Cannon and 600 of playing a role in his downfall.
600 was actually with the police when they raided my house. And he's actually got video and footage of it. So y'all know what y'all dealing with. And I just want to...
Big U claimed. If true, that's a heavy accusation. A well-connected street figure allegedly standing alongside law enforcement while one of the most powerful names in LA got taken down, that's not a good look. And then there's Loose Cannon. Big U made it clear that they weren't on good terms, yet Cannon's name is still tangled in the indictment. Was he another pawn in the game, or did he have a bigger role in the case against Big U? The deeper you dig, the messier it gets. Big U believes the feds are pulling strings behind the scenes, using old associates and street connections to paint him as the mastermind of a criminal empire. But whether those same associates willingly cooperated or were manipulated into it remains a major question. One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle is Big U's nonprofit organization, Development Options. For years, it was known as a community-focused program aimed at helping at-risk youth, but the feds are now calling it something else, a front for criminal activity. Big U pushed back against that claim, insisting that the money he made from Development Options was legitimate.
And I'm disheartened by the fact that they trying to say that I stole something from Development Option, or I used Development Option as a front. Development Option paid my bills. They paid my house note. They paid the bills for my family, the money I made as an employee for Development Option.
The feds also brought up PPP loans, but Big U was quick to defend himself. He admitted to taking out 2 loans, but insisted that everything was done legally.
We did PPP loans. We did 2 loans. And that's it, just like everybody else did. I didn't use no fraud. I didn't get none of fake names. And one of them we was paying back and one they forgave.
Despite his claims of innocence, authorities are using Development Options as a key part of their case against him. And according to Big U, WAC 100 played a role in trying to tear it down.
WAC said he was going to destroy Development Option, right? So who going to replace Development Option? Which one of you in the 60s going to call yourself coming in? Because whoever try to come in, y'all the ones that's working with WAC.
Big U's accusations against WAC 100 have sent ripples through the hip-hop and street communities. But the question remains, did WAC really betray Big U, Loose, and Brick? From Big U's perspective, WAC 100 has been working against him for years. Whether it was sabotaging business deals, spreading damaging rumors online, or even cooperating with the feds, he believes WAC has been out to get him. The allegations extend beyond Big U, Loose Cannon, and Brick's names have also been caught up in the mix, leading many to wonder if WAC was involved in their downfalls too. But here's where things get tricky. WAC 100 has built a reputation as someone who stirs up controversy and thrives off drama. But does that automatically make him a snitch? His loudmouth persona has definitely put him at odds with a lot of people, but there's no concrete proof that he directly set up Big U, Loose, or Brick. However, the streets don't always wait for paperwork. In a world where perception is everything, Big U's words carry weight, and if enough people believe WAC 100 played a role in bringing them down, his reputation could take a serious hit, even if there's no official proof. Meanwhile, after Big U's allegations went viral, WAC 100 wasted no time firing back. Taking to Clubhouse on March 20th, just one day after Big U turned himself in, WAC went on a heated rant, completely denying that he had anything to do with the federal case. They ain't got nothing to do with WAC, he said, scoffing at the idea that he had snitched on Big U. He also rejected claims that he had been circulating any legal documents related to Big U's case. It seems to me like I've been threatening the paperwork. WAC ain't said nothing, he added. Big U also accused WAC of knowing ahead of time that federal authorities were planning to raid his homes and properties. But WAC laughed at the suggestion, saying that it was obvious law enforcement had been watching Big U and his associates for a long time. What you mean, how did they know? How did they know? WAC mocked. How did they know they was gonna raid my house? Oh, you a goofy, how the fuck you didn't know? Despite his fiery defense, some people in the streets aren't convinced. While there's no concrete proof that WAC cooperated with the feds, his history of stirring up drama and exposing street business on social media has only fueled speculation. Despite WAC 100's loud denials of being an informant, a recent revelation has many people in the streets questioning his innocence. After Big U's arrest, WAC hopped on No Jumper and casually admitted that he warned Big U's wife about the incoming RICO indictment. That admission immediately set off alarms. How did WAC 100 know a federal case was coming before it happened? On March 19, 2025, during a live stream on No Jumper, WAC 100 received a phone call from one of the hosts. During the conversation, the host referenced a court document that had surfaced detailing parts of Big U's alleged criminal activities. But what really caught people's attention was the mention of a specific text message, one that WAC himself had sent to Big U's wife. According to the document, WAC messaged Big U's wife urgently, saying, "Sis, 911, he needs to leave, bad. He needs to leave." When asked about this on the live stream, WAC 100 admitted to sending the warning, but played it off like he was just looking out for a friend. However, this only raised more eyebrows.
You hit up Big U's wife, you said, "Sis, 911, 1 sec, let me get Solo," and you gave him a heads up.
What I tell him?
You said, "1 sec, let me get Solo, he needs to leave, bad." In caps, all caps. He needs to leave.
I said so bad, right?
Yeah.
Why did WAC 100 have such detailed knowledge of the indictment before it happened? How did he know that a federal case was coming down on Big U and his associates? And if he truly was trying to protect Big U, why did he only warn his wife instead of Big U himself? These are the questions that had the internet buzzing. Many people on X, formerly Twitter, weren't buying WAC's explanation, with users commenting, how WAC got all this federal information though? He know how many telling and everything he gotta be with those people. WAC is the feds who's playing both sides. Bro doesn't want to offend his... so he gives a warning after he snitches. This is all a comedy movie. WAC is next to go down. The reactions weren't just speculation. They reflected a long-standing suspicion that WAC 100 has deep ties to law enforcement. For years, WAC 100 has built a reputation as someone who always seems to know the inside scoop before anyone else. Whether it's industry drama, legal cases, or street business, WAC has repeatedly put out information that others didn't even know existed. That's why this situation feels so familiar. People are connecting the dots. He knew Big U's indictment was coming before the news broke. He had inside knowledge of who was allegedly cooperating. He went out of his way to warn Big U's wife but never spoke directly to Big U. Some are arguing that WAC 100 isn't necessarily a federal informant, but rather someone who has close ties to the feds, which allows him to gain access to sensitive information. Others believe he's simply reckless with his mouth and doesn't realize the consequences of the things he says publicly. Regardless of the explanation, one thing is certain. His involvement in this situation is far from innocent. Did WAC 100 really betray Big U, Loose Cannon, and Brick? Right now, it all depends on who you believe. Big U is adamant that WAC worked with the feds to take him down, while WAC hasn't publicly responded in a way that clears his name. What's clear is that this situation is bigger than just a street beef. Big U is facing the fight of his life. And whether WAC 100 played a direct role or not, the reality is that the system is closing in. And in that kind of environment, trust is the first thing to go. One thing's for sure, this isn't over. The streets are watching, and as more details unfold, we'll see if WAC 100 really crossed the line, or if Big U is just looking for someone to blame. Either way, the fallout from this will be felt for years to come. For more content like this, click on the videos showing on your screen now.